Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, 1963's Sin You Sinners. This is part of a double feature Blu-ray with Joe Sarno's Vampire Ecstasy and Sin You Sinners. I did a YouTube review for Vampire Ecstasy already, and this is 1963's Sin You Sinners. Now, Joe Sarno is credited as doing the screenplay in this film, and his friend supposedly is labeled as the director in the opening credits, but it is written in the booklet in here, kind of alluded to that Joe Sarno had definitely some play in the direction of this particular film. And if you're familiar with Joe Sarno's work, you will see his direction in this film, and definitely some solid influence on here regardless. There's a quote on the front for Sin You Sinners from offscreen.com that says, "An undercurrent of poetic melancholia and surrealism." Um, this is this is a black and white film from 1963, and we're going to get into it right now. This is a film that deals with voodoo and the occult, and kind of a voodoo fetish of a medallion, and at the same time, it also deals immensely with sexuality and relationships, with which Joe Sarno is known for. This undercurrent of relational and sexual drama in his films that is difficult, complex, and at the same time full of absolute freedom. Now, you have to understand something. For 1963, this is a pretty damn cutting-edge film. Now, there is no nudity in this film. I think like some small glimpses of breasts, but maybe through like kind of a see-through top. But this is a film that is ripe with sexuality and ripe with a level of impurity, let's say, that probably was not very common during this time frame. And there's a level of impurity in here that you could show this film to family members or grandparents or something. It's black and white, and there's no nudity per se or bad language or intense violence, but they would be off-put by the manner and the tone of the film. We have fortune telling, and we have hypnotism, and we have kind of striptease dancing. Some very interesting things in this film as well. We have a level of intensity and a level of darkness throughout this film. And the film reminded me at times musically and tonally at sometimes to the original Carnival of Souls. So let's get into 1963's Sin You Sinners, and let's unpack this one here. There's a little bit of the cover right there. Let's unpack this one. This is a very unknown one. Very rare, very unheard of. I believe this might be, I don't know if this is the only release of Sin You Sinners, but it's the only release I found. But let me know if you found other releases for this particular film other than this from Film Movement Classics, this Blu-ray, this double feature Blu-ray. The music in this film has a heavy jazz core, a heavy sleazy type of what you would hear maybe in like a Betty Page movie from the, a retro Betty Page movie, kind of sultry, sleazy, jazzy, also late night jazzy, also orchestration and moody orchestration and kind of horrific orchestration and dark orchestration. We also have something that relates a lot to Vampire Ecstasy, which is ritualistic hand percussion drumming. We have some hand percussion drumming in this film as well, some kind of repetitious ritual drumming. In this particular case, it takes the form of kind of voodoo fetish and hypnotism and the kind of the backstage of a carnival per se. You know, the characters in this film are very, very interesting. We definitely have a love triangle in this particular film. But the interesting thing is that we have a older mother, a daughter, and a guy involved in kind of this stage act that they do that involves stripping and provocative dancing, erotic dancing, let's say that, and some kind of occult sideshow type of vibe. Now, what makes matters even more interesting is the fact that we have very loose sexuality in this film. And yes, there's no nudity, but even in the kissing, even in the implied sex, very loose, very free, very cutting edge, very, as I said previously, seemingly impure, in a film like this. In terms of the cinematography and the style and the environments, we have very close-up shots of characters' faces, even looking into the camera, which reminded me again of Vampire Ecstasy. We have a couple really interesting zoom shots. There's this one zoom shot through like a bar of with alcohol and like kind of this bar environment. Really slow, interesting zoom, and even this shot of somebody behind their head. Now, the lead woman in the film, who's not on here, but the lead woman in the film is this short, dark-haired woman who I believe is Joe Sarno's wife. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe it's his wife. Regardless, we have some amazing characters and interesting characters in this film. First and foremost, I got to tell you, I think I keep saying first and foremost, I have to tell you that it's extremely rare to be dealing with sexuality with an older woman, okay, an older female character. Yes, we have younger women in this film, but the kind of the focal point of sexuality in this film is from an older woman, a visibly older woman, and her ties to the occult, and a very interesting backstory involving voodoo. Now, this is a short film. It's 73 minutes long with a wildly abrupt ending, but a sexual ending at that. This is a film that has very kind of, as we're close shots on people's faces, we have very close type of tight sets. It looks like, tight sets, bare sets from a nightclub to apartments, the edge of town, outside. Very, very tight sets. A little homemade palm tree in this nightclub, couches, a hotel, a bed. So very interesting like that. And there's, in terms of the sexuality of this film, we have dancing. We have provocative dancing and almost what would be considered kind of like a bra and panties in a way, with stockings. And we have some close-up shots of legs and pulling off of stockings. And I believe even pulling off panties underneath of a dress. I believe that's what they were. And implied sexuality, as I said before, and some pretty heavy-duty kissing in here. That's even mentioned in the booklet in here by Tim Lucas, I believe. Kind of what they would call porno tongue in some, in The Wedding Singer. But this is a very provocative film. What is implied in this film, and as I said previously, we have a male character in here that is freely having sex with a variety of women, and the women are pretty okay with that in the free love aspect in some form or fashion. But we have power in this film, sexual power, utilizing the source of voodoo, and but it is sexual power, and this power not only is to entice others, but it is also, in a way, to make you yourself feel sexy apart from whatever age you are. Now, as I said, very interesting film that we're dealing with a visibly older woman who's wearing a bra and panties and dancing seductively. something you just don't see that much. There's a little bit of a twist in that near the end of the film. But we have some really sexually provocative dance sequences. We have some murder in this film. Not gory or anything. Little pieces of blood here and there, but it is violent in tone and a bit dark, and well done. Especially a scene in the last, kind of 10 minutes of the film. Very well done with some twists there. Sin You Sinners. At times almost reminded me of some of the dance sequences in there's this Tim Burton's film Ed Wood, kind of had this ritualistic, provocative hand percussion, sexual dancing. There's a sexuality in all of Joe Sarno's films, and almost, it's almost like, my gosh, this is so sexual, it should be an X-rated film. And then, I mean, he's made some X-rated films, like Sleepyhead, which I reviewed on this YouTube page, but I'm saying for the ones that aren't X-rated, he's dealing with such a dangerously sexually explicit tone to his films, and sometimes in the form of just female orgasm, in the form of female faces while they're orgasming, and without even nudity. Joe Sarno really seems to be able to enable that in his films in a way that I've never seen a director do it before. And in this particular film, I mean, this is a true test because this is from 1963. This is black and white. There's what would this be rated? I don't even know. But because there's no nudity, there's no bad language. There's really no gore or violence in that couldn't be on television. But what we're dealing with here is you're really getting a true test of complexity and strong sexuality. Can a movie have strong sexuality that could be rated R or higher without any nudity in it whatsoever? That's the question, okay? And Sin You Sinners, it's what it implies, and it's in the boundaries that it has, in just kissing, in just sights of feet undressing, okay? And this is Sin You Sinners, 1963, sexual power once again, and free love, freedom, and loose obsession. Sin You Sinners, 1963. Screenplay by Joe Sarno, probably also some hand and direction of it as well. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like Sin You Sinners by Joe Sarno and his friend. Thank you so much, and have a good night.